Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at my Shadow Alolan Marowak, but we are going to play a spicy moveset. We're going to play Fire Blast, because I feel like this is going to be an interesting Pokemon for the current meta, as Fire Blast is going to be able to hit those normal types, which is really cool. So let's take a look at the team that we're running here. We're going to have a very standard team around this Pokemon. We're going to have the Pidgeot in the lead, being able to go for Feather Dance as well as Brave Bird is just so strong in the lead, and definitely a very strong Pokemon to also deal with those answers for the Marowak, for example, like a Swampert or whatever. You can definitely deal with them with your lead, which is going to be amazing. Then we're going to have as a Saysop, the Vigoroth, one of the best Saysops in the current meta. But there's actually a little bit of an issue with this one, which we're going to talk a little bit about later. But yeah, this is going to be our Saysop, trying to get some kind of shield advantage, because then endgame our Marowak can sweep a lot of games, which is really cool, which you're going to see here as well in today's video. I went a total of 9-6 with this team, climbed around 40 points, and you're going to see most of the games here of those games that I played as well. I cut out, I think, 2 battles which were just completely hard counter. Still have one completely hard counter battle in the video, basically just to show an example, because I basically faced the same team 3 times, which is completely unwinnable, and I don't know why, like, watching it 3 times doing exactly the same is not really that valuable, I feel like. But we're going to start off here with a Fire Blast, winning the first game, as we can now move on into the next one. We're going to encounter a Gligar in the lead here, which is going to be fine for us, as we're going to have our Pidgeot here, which is going to have a decent time against the opponent's Gligar. Gligar is going to go for the Aerial Ace, but we can now go for the Brave Bird, trying to do some guaranteed damage against the opponent is going to be very valuable for us, as we're going to now get into our Vigoroth, which is going to be able to just farm them all the way down. But most likely they're going to swap out here into their own Vigoroth, putting us into a Body Slam range, which I'm totally okay with. I can go for my own Body Slam here, get the shield advantage, and I can either use a shield here and get them even a little bit lower, which I'm going to do here, or I decide to just go ahead and go for the, let the move go through. But here, of course, I decide to use a shield, go for the Body Slam, get the final shield from my opponent, and that means that it's time for the Marowak. And I want to go for the blast, but the opponent decided to just forfeit there, so sadly we will never find out if we could blast something there. So, next opponent, we're going to see a Swampert in the lead. That's kind of great. I would recommend you to do something different towards what I just did. I would recommend you to just go ahead and go for the Brave Bird. And there are going to be some games that I must play kind of hard, and this is, I think, maybe one of them, where you definitely should try to go for the Brave Bird, because Brave Bird is going to get the knockout from the range, basically, and a lot of people just let the first move go through, expecting the bait. And here you see me overfarm by 1, which is really bad for me. So basically, I completely screwed over myself there in the first matchup, which is really awkward. And now we're also going to encounter a Vigoroth against us, and yeah, we're going to still have to deal with this Pokemon here with the rest of our team. I tried to catch a move. I think the opponent was actually throwing, but they had like the refund thingy because the animation stopped for a little bit there. But we're going to see the Bulldoze coming through. We can try to go for a full farm down, which we can do. Hopefully this is not a Bulldoze, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's actually going to be the Bulldoze, which is really bad for me, as you're going to see that the opponent is going to have in the back another Mudboy. It's going to be Quagsire with the fast move Water Gun, which I find interesting here, but this will allow us to still get to 2 Shadow Bones, and because we were able to farm them all the way down there, we're going to have such a nice amount of damage onto the opponent. I still reach the Body Slam in time before the opponent can swap out into their Swampert, and I will be able to still win this game, even though I completely messed up my lead. And this is going to be one of the examples of the hard counter team that I encountered quite often. Steelix lead, of course, horrible. I decided to swap out immediately into Vigoroth, because I have 2 answers in the back for Steelix. And I see a lot of people having the Trevenant in the back right now, which is, of course, a hard counter to the Vigoroth, which is not really ideal. So, yeah, like, there is not a lot that I can do about this matchup in general here. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can just go for my Body Slam, but I will not be able to flip this one at all. I have to go into my Pidgeot again. I can try to farm down. In this meta, people are running Foul Play instead of the Shadow Ball onto the Trevenant, because it will allow them to hit Flying type Pokemon here for neutral damage, which you're going to see here as well coming in clutch. But as you can see here, I can just go ahead and go into my Pokemon in the back here, which is going to be the Marowak. I decided to stay in, hoping that the opponent would throw so I can keep some energy. But they played smart, they don't throw at all, and we can swap out, as you can get walled by a Gligar. I had basically like the first lead as well as the Pokemon in the back with the Trevenant on 3 different occasions, I think. And then there was a different flyer in the back. Like, one time here was Gligar, one time it was the Pidgeot. So, like, it's impossible to win those games. Like, you're always going to have some hard counter matchups. But here, for example, we're going to have a great lead for us, which is nice. And we can just go ahead and take a look what our Pidgeot can do against the opponent's Vigoroth. We will see that we can just go straight basically for the Brave Bird here, which is going to get the shield from the opponent. Wish I went for the bait then, but usually I go for the bait and they don't shield, so I decided to go for the safe play basically and get a guaranteed advantage, either like shield or like switch. So here we're going to let this move go through. It's going to be a body slam. They still should be able to reach another one, but they actually don't, which is fine for us. So we can still most likely reach our own body slam, because there's nothing really in the meta other than Blaziken that can farm us down in that range before we can get to the body slam. As you can see here, we're going to encounter the opponent's Tropius, which is going to be fine, as we're gonna get out the Steelix in the back. I'm going to stay in here, and I'm actually going to use a shield on my Pidgeot because I want to get the attack drop onto them, which is going to be very important for me. For whatever reason, this was, I guess, not a CMP either, but I can just go ahead and go for the full farm down here against the opponent, or like try to go for a charge move against them as well. Both of them is fine, but they're going to have a double weakness to Fire-type Pokemon, and as we're going to now have a double debuffed Dragon Tail plus a Breaking Swipe, we're going to still be able to come out of this matchup with a little bit of health, and as you can see, we're going to be able to resist the fast move of the opponent, as well as Leaf Blade is going to do not as much damage, so I'm going to still get to the Shadow Bone, and the opponent decides to forfeit here, knowing that this Marowak was not really something for them. We're going to have the OG flyer here of Noctowl, something that I definitely don't miss to see in the meta, so I'm actually really happy that this Pokemon is gone. I feel like, while I'm not the happiest person about the current Great League meta, I still feel that the nerf of Noctowl was a great thing, and I think that the Sky Attack nerf in general was a great call from Niantic. I think that's the best change of the season, to nerf Sky Attack, but still, here we're going to see the opponent's Swampert, which is nice. So we were able to get out the opponent's answer for Marowak already. And hopefully they don't have another Water Boy in the back here, as he can just go ahead and go for the full farm down nearly. I'm going to use a shield here, expecting an Earthquake, and it was actually the Earthquake, which is really nice for me, as I now am a shield down, but I have a lot of energy, and we're gonna see the Pidgeot in the back. So for me, my only goal here is to try to get the opponent low, that I can maybe even farm them down with my Marowak, as I can just go for the Body Slam spam. I can just go for another Body Slam here. This is going to get the shield from the opponent. I can try to catch a move, which does not work out, as the opponent is going to overfarm by quite a bit, but I should still be able to survive a Brave Bird here, which is coming in clutch, as I can still reach the Shadow Bone against the opponent's, against the opponent's Noctowl here, getting the knockout, and we can now see that the Pidgeot is still there. They have a ton of energy left, but I can just go into my own Pidgeot. I can force the opponent to throw here, and they are forced to throw a Brave Bird. The Feather Dance would not knock me out from this range, so it's a guarantee win at this point for me, as I can just knock them out with one more counter. And we're going to encounter Donphin in the lead. This is going to be an awkward one, because Donphin is actually a strong Pokemon against this team, kind of breaking the Pidgeot as well as the Vigoroth in the two-shield scenario, as counter is doing so much damage plus Body Slam. But I'm just going to go straight for the Brave Bird, trying to get the shield here, and I get the knockout, which is amazing, as I can decide to swap out immediately into my Vigoroth against the opponent's Gligar. And also, Gligar is something I don't want to face with my Marowak in the back, so this is really looking good for us, as we can just go for the Body Slam spam. Body Slam does a ton of damage against the opponent here, as we can even reach another one and put them into farm down range for our Marowak. So we just have to hope that there's something in the back that I can farm down in the two-shield scenario against the opponents, basically with our Fire Spin from Shadow Marowak, and it's going to be a Swampert. So yeah, this is going to be it, especially with a Water Gun Swampert, which is going to be able to just knock out our Pidgeot as well with just fast moves. There is literally nothing that I can do here, sadly, as this Pokemon is still too strong. I'm still going to try, because I wasn't sure on how much the Hydro Can is still going to do, but as we see here already, yes, the damage is adding up kinda fast. I'm going to use a shield here, of course, but yeah, my only hope was that they're going to try to swap out, but they still even get to the Hydro Cannon in time. This is going to get the knockout, because yeah, Water Gun is definitely very strong here, and it is a little bit annoying that we lost this game to the worst possible Pokemon that we could face in the back, but at least we're going to face it for the next game into the lead here. Honestly, I feel like that the normal Swampert is currently way better than the Shadow Swampert, so that's kind of fine for us here. But in this matchup itself, I think Shadow Swampert is a little bit better, because he can two-shot Pidgeot, normal Swampert cannot, but we can one-shot them, so that's totally fine for me. We're gonna get out the Vigoroth, as they're going to get, of course, the move a little bit faster than I do. They are one turn ahead, and now they're total fast move here ahead, which is kind of awkward. I try to see CMP-tie as I have a fairly high attack variant of the Vigoroth, but it does not work out. But they decide to swap out, and I can still get a move off against these Steelix, allowing me to at least get some more chip damage here. And I can align my Marowak against the opponent, which is really good for me, as I can just get the damage output from Fire Spin, and I can even go for the charge move here, which is gonna get the defense drop onto them. This is amazing for me, as I can just let this move go through, and I will be able to just go ahead and go for a shield against the opponent, as this is going to be another breaking swipe. I will go for a Shadow Bone, and the Shadow Bone is going to get, hopefully, the knockout. No, it's going to get just the shield from the opponent, as I swap out onto the charge move into my Pidgeot, and I'm fairly certain that I can just go for a charge move here and knock them out with a Feather Dance. Let's see. I still reach the Feather Dance in time, which is important for me, as this is going to get the knockout against these Steelix, and I should be fine here against the opponent's Vigoroth, as we're gonna get them into one Fire Spin range. I still have a shield left, and that's going to be it for this game here, as we can move on into the next game against the opponent's Blaziken. Here I can just go for the Feather Dance, or I can just go for the full farm down, because I can actually farm them down in the one shield scenario, but they decide to go into their Vigoroth here. I can get some damage onto them, but also the debuff onto them. Maybe should have went for the Brave Bird instead. And also, most likely should have swapped out earlier, because my own Vigoroth, of course, is not really ideal against the opponent. I decide to go into my Marowak, which in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have done. I should have went into my Vigoroth, tried to farm them down, as they are doing less damage thanks to the debuff. So we are not in the greatest spot, as they can go for the Bulldoze. I have to hope that I can farm down in time, and I can farm them down. So we have a ton of energy left. And I decide not to go for the Fire Blast here, which comes in clutch as they decide to use a shield. I'm going to try to overfarm towards the Fire Blast, as I can use a shield against the opponent as well. And I expect that they're going to swap out eventually. And they decide to stay in first, as I can still go for one Shadow Bone here. And I can go straight for another one, as they decide to swap out, which is amazing for me. Because with this, they decide, like, they're basically going to lose their final Pokemon. They're, like, their last Pokemon before the Gligar, which allows me to go for a Feather Dance, and this is going to give them a 100% guaranteed double attack buff, a debuff onto their Gligar, which is not going to be able to clear it here anymore, because they don't have another Pokemon. So they're basically fighting with the Gligar with half of its attack, which is really nice for me. As we can see here, the opponent goes for a charge move. This is going to be the dig, and it does basically no damage. And this is the beauty of Pidgeot. If you're gonna get the opponent to basically the scenario that they only have one Pokemon left, getting to a Feather Dance is so important and just so deadly. How do I play usually against other Pidgeots? I usually just stay in and wait for what they're gonna go for. I just use a shield, and it's going to be a Brave Bird, because winning the lead is fairly important. And honestly, this is a mistake, and I wonder if this is going to be different for different Pidgeots in terms of the IVs, because they're going to survive with exactly 1 HP. So maybe there is a Pidgeot spread where you're going to get the attack buff or something like the attack breakpoint against other Pidgeots, which would allow you to win the scenario there if you just shield once and farm down after one after one Feather Dance. But sadly, we were not able to find this out here, but we're going to see that the opponent goes straight for a charge move against our Marowak, which is most likely going to be the Body Slam, which does not work out for them, as I can farm them all the way down. I think this is another Body Slam here anyway. It will be, and we will see the opponent is swapping into their Gligar in the back. Interesting, interesting. We can go for a Shadow Bone, hoping for the defense drop, which is, I think, a 20% chance here. They definitely nerfed Shadow Bone before, which I still don't understand. Honestly, this move is not crazy. Like, the Pokemon itself is not crazy. And I really hope that we're gonna get a fire buff eventually. I might make a video about a potential fire buff soon on my channel, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see more potential move changes for the future or something. That would be kind of nice. Here my opponent makes a great catch, completely unnecessary, while I was already over the Brave Bird, which is really awkward. And here I actually realized that I lose CMP against the Gligar, which I didn't know about. I don't think it mattered. I don't think a Shadow Bone would have knocked them out. But of course I could have won this game already earlier if I didn't let the opponent catch, which is totally fine and would have worked out as well. But here, of course, great play by the opponent. Should have played it better though. Like, this was definitely on me. As we're going to see the next opponent here having again another Pidgeot in the lead, I can just go for the next charge move against them. Going to be the Feather Dance. They're going to let this move go through again. And I wanted to swap out into my Marowak, but it didn't work out, and we see the Body Slam coming through, and now I should be able to swap onto the Body Slam, which works out perfectly fine for me. So I will be able to get a ton of energy here. They are double debuffed, so both counter as well as Body Slam does no damage, but also Bulldoze is not going to do too much damage, around like 50% still though, so it's still going to chunk quite a bit. But as you can see, they're going to swap out into the Pidgeot, and I should have went for the bait here first, because as we can see, the opponent is going to use a shield here, but sadly, I am not able to reach another, charge move there. I only can get to the Shadow Bone, but they still use a shield for whatever reason, which is fine for me. As I decided to go into my Vigoroth, which is most likely not ideal, because I didn't really want to risk the CMP tie here with my Pidgeot, because my Pidgeot is a rank 1 variant. So I decided to go first into my Vigoroth, get the bait, and here I could have went for the Brave Bird. And again, this was a huge mistake. I didn't know that I would have get there, so like this, my opponent makes a great play, and I could have went again for the Body Slam, but they catch it again over my energy limit, which is just so bad. So this is the thing as well for me. I know that I can wait for half a turn and throw the move then. I know about this, but the thing is, my game is fairly laggy, and I had a lot of times where this just didn't work out, so I should still try to do it, but honestly, I'm just very bad at this, I have to say. Like, honestly, like, just waiting for a half a turn is really awkward, because even if they swap out, then I usually still throw my move just out of, like, I don't know, reaction time or whatever. So like, it's something I can definitely improve on my gameplay, but also I would just like to have a game where I don't have frame drops, where I don't have freezes, and it's just not really the way for me right now. I know that a lot of people can do it a little bit better on like iPhones and stuff like this, but for Android users like me, I just don't really like to wait a half a turn, because it is just very inconsistent, sadly. Here we're going to see a Swampert in the back, which is really bad for me, but they're going to still have 2 shields. I have 1 shield, I'm going to use it immediately, and it's an obvious one that I'm going to go for the Feather Dance here, but I cannot risk it. I cannot go for the Brave Bird here, and they're going to call this move, which is of course very easy to call because they have 2 shields left, so why would I go for the Brave Bird? But it's still going to be hopefully fine if I can reach the next one in time, but I cannot. They can still go for the Hydro Cannon here, as we are gonna still survive that, which is fine. And they do 1 damage with the Mud Shot, for sure. I decide to swap out here into my Marowak, which is going to be okay, as now, actually, what you're going to see here right now is going to be an Earthquake hitting my Marowak. And with a 4 times debuff, it is not going to do enough damage. And here I wanted to see if I can KO through the shield, but sadly the opponent doesn't use a shield here, of course. So, yeah, I could have just went for a farm down there, but I wanted to see if this was exactly 1 HP for the opponent. But they didn't even allow me to check that one out, but yeah, it's still fine. Good game to the opponent, as I can move on into the final game of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Liking the video is always helping me out to spread out the videos to other people. So if you enjoyed this one, feel free to leave a like on this video as well. And also, you might have already noticed that my, at least for today and also for a few recent days, that my upload time changed a little bit. I kind of want to push it back 1 hour for both of my uploads. Main reason for this is just that my second upload time, which is usually like 7 PM my time, is also Niantic o'clock, which is always kind of awkward because, yeah, I usually then upload at the same time as Niantic post their own news, which I kind of want to make a video about. So yeah, it's kind of better, I feel like, if I post 1 hour later, at least for the second slot. Maybe I'm still going to keep the 13 or like the 1 PM for me for the first slot, but here we're actually going to be able to get the opponent into a scenario again where they only have 1 Pokemon left, but also 2 shields still left, and I hope they can still reach the Feather Dance, and I can. And this is going to be amazing for me, because like this, I can just go ahead and hopefully put them into a range. I can still get to a Feather Dance. Maybe I still survive this Hydro Cannon, hopefully. Let's see. It is going to be close, but they're going to let this move go through. I have to let this move go through, but they're going to knock me out here. But I will be able to just go into my Vigoroth, and as we can see here, I don't really take too much damage from the opponent, so they're going to be forced to go for an Earthquake against me eventually, in order to try to at least knock me out. And I can prevent this by just swapping out into my Marowak here, because I am close to a Shadow Bone, and this forces them to throw, and this is also going to allow me to definitely get to another charge move in time, winning this final game. And this is also going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.